everyone, welcome to the New Year's. I just want to wish everyone a happy New Year's. I hope everyone enjoyed their holidays and had a blessed New Year's. In this video, I'm going to be discussing the 5 things I did to land my dream job as a labor and delivery nurse. If you watched my previous video, which I'll have here, I pretty much discussed what I've been up to and everything that's going on in school and everything. So if you want to learn what I've been up to, you can click in this video. But in this video, we're going to be discussing the top 5 things I did to land that job. Now, I am going to give a little disclaimer in the beginning, okay? Now, I'm not going to say if you do all 5 of these things, you're guaranteed to get this job. Like, no, I can't say that. However, these 5 things that I did really did help me in the long run. I was very strategic about everything I did. I pretty much planned out and mapped out all these steps prior to even applying for the job because I knew that that's what I really wanted. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump right into this video and let's get to it. Alright guys, so if you see me looking down a little bit, it's because I've made a whole list so I don't go off on a tangent in this video and make it be too long. So I just want to get straight to the point. Step number 1. What I recommend is to get a job working as a patient care tech or a CNA, preferably at the hospital of your choice. So if you know it's a hospital that you want to work at as a nurse, I recommend getting a job there in advance. I have a whole video on why I think you should work as a PCT or CNA. I'll have that video linked here on the importance of working as a PCT or CNA before or while in nursing school or before becoming an RN. I'll have that video listed here. So the reason you want to get a job working as a PCT or a CNA is because I believe that's honestly the closest you can get to the RN role without actually being an RN. You're working directly with registered nurses and you're also gaining really valuable experience on the floor with patients. So you may not be, in the actual role of an RN, but you're still getting that patient care experience, that bedside experience. And we all know with the pandemic that a lot of programs are completely online. Some of us have went back to the clinical setting. A lot of us have not been back possibly to the clinical setting. So just being able to still get into the hospital and work as a patient care tech, you're still gaining experience and skills that you can use in your role as a registered nurse. Another big thing that I would say is networking. So you meet so many different managers of the unit, other nurses, and you're able to network and build up your reputation, I would say, amongst the hospital. For example, you are able to get hired on your floor of choice. So say, for example, you wanted to work in labor and delivery or at the ICU. Try to get a job as a patient care tech on that floor. But if you cannot get a job on that floor, I 100% recommend working in float pool. That is what I do. I love float pool. One, you get to create your own schedule. Now, I can't say this is all for all hospitals, but it really helps being able to create the days you want to work when you're in nursing school, especially because it's just so much going on, tests and clinicals and all type of stuff that you have to keep up with. So it's great to be able to create your own schedule. But with float pool, you are floating to many different departments. So I think that was honestly one of my strong suits on my resume because I floated to the ICU. I worked on medical surgical floors, step down. I even had the opportunity to pick up some shifts as a patient care tech in the NICU as well. So I have worked all over the hospital. You're able to build up that network, build up those connections. I know when I went on some of my interviews, the unit managers already knew who I was because I either worked there as a patient care tech or a safety sitter. So I definitely recommend getting your foot in the door. I mean, most organizations kind of tend to hire from within, so that already gives you kind of a leg up on people who are outside of the organization trying to apply to get in. So definitely if you can, get yourself a job at the hospital of your choice and preferably on a floor that you want. If not, go to float pool. Float pool honestly was the best thing ever. You will gain so much experience and build up a strong network within that organization. Now step number 2. So like before I kind of get into step number 2, so for me, I always knew I wanted to work as an L&D nurse. I've been saying that since the start of nursing school. Before I even got accepted into nursing school, I've been saying L&D, L&D, and L&D. So if you watch a few videos back, unfortunately, thanks to COVID, I totally missed out on my clinical experience in maternity and peds. I was really upset about that. Not anymore because I got the job, but I still really wanted that clinical experience. And you know, the reality is we're still going through this pandemic, so you may miss out on your ideal clinical experience that you wanted. But this is just me saying to you, do not let that deter you from still applying and doing everything you got to do, because technically I did not have the clinical experience as far as being in the actual clinical setting for maternity or peds. So with that being said, when things started to open back up, I reached out to my manager to see if I could do a job shadow experience on labor and delivery. The best thing about doing a job shadow experience is that you're able to literally shadow, you know, the person or the job that you want to do. You get to shadow them for a few hours. With job shadowing, don't just go in there just do. Like, be knowledgeable about the field you're job shadowing, okay? Like, I made sure I reviewed my meds, I made sure I reviewed assessments, normal heart rates, like everything. I made sure I reviewed everything before I went to the job shadowing experience. And I say this because it's not like they're trying to test you. However, they do throw questions at you. So the lady that I was job shadowing, she would just sometimes be talking about her patient and just randomly throw different questions out there. And honey, I knew it. Know what you're talking about. Don't just go in there blindly and know nothing about the field that you're trying to get into. Don't. It's not a good look. You'll look bad, okay? It won't be a good look. So definitely be knowledgeable. And then also use your networking skills. I mean, when I was there, I was talking her head off. We had built a good rapport. Even the lady that set up the original job shadowing experience, I built a good rapport with her as well. Now, this might just be me, but well, this is just me in general, being team overdressed. Now, technically in L&D at my hospital, you go in and you wear the surgical scrubs that they provide. Even though this was just a job shadowing experience, I still showed up in business casual clothes. I mean, I could have easily showed up in some jeans, a t-shirt, because I knew I was already going to have to change anyway when I got there. She told me that. However, I still kept it professional. I still showed up in my business casual, even though I was in it for only like 2 seconds. I still showed up, and believe me, she noticed because she said, oh, you didn't have to do all that. And I was like, yeah, I know, but I wanted to. You know, take the initiative to go the extra mile. I mean, you'd be surprised how far that would get you. Like, even to the point where when I first interviewed as a CNA at that hospital, I wore a whole suit to the interview. And I got many compliments from them, and it stuck out. So things that you don't think employers and managers and things you don't think they really pay attention to, they do. They really do. So be team overdressed. Just go for it. Even if you know it's not an interview, you're just job shadowing, still be business casual. Now let's jump to the meat and potatoes, which is your resume. So I'm just going to be honest with you guys. I knew that my school, they help us with our resume. They kind of send us out like a template of how our resume should be set up and things to add on their resume. But why would I follow that exactly to the T when everyone else at my school is going to have the same resume layout? Don't do that. Be extra. I'm extra. I'm here to tell you to be extra. So what I did was I did some research. You know, that's what social media is for. And I found this really great, I want to say she's a family nurse practitioner. I know she's an RN, but I think she might have a higher degree. I can't really remember. However, she does really excellent resume cover letter templates. When I tell you, I done seen some of the testimonials and some of the things that she have posted, I'm just like, okay. So long story short, I brought my resume and my cover letter template. The template that I brought was really sleek, like it was eye-catching, but it was also professional. Now, I did take some of the little tidbits that my school kind of like told us about to add in, and I did incorporate that into my resume. But I will say my resume and cover letter probably definitely stood out compared to everyone else's because it was just different. I'm definitely going to link below her Instagram page and her website. You can definitely go ahead and click the link to go follow her. She has multiple templates and cover letters, and she don't just, you know, give you like a blank template that says name here, put your paragraph here. Like, she provides you examples of what your cover letter should say as a new grad. Sorry about that, guys, my camera died. But what I was saying is that she give you like template, like examples of what you should say in your cover letters. So our residencies opened up, or the application opened up in September. I started working on my resume and cover letters back in July. I recommend getting at least 3 people that you know that's a stickler or extra as hell when it comes to grammar. If you have a friend that corrects your grammar via text messages, that's the person you want to look at your resume and cover letters. Not your girlfriend that you know, barely spells out anything. Like, no, you want the person that's a stickler for grammar and will really be able to, you know, look at your resume and cover letter and critique it. I can't even say it. Critique it. Anyway, yeah, so critique it. So a strong cover letter and resume is really important, especially if you want to get the recruiters to really notice your stuff and give you a call back for an interview. That's what you want to do. You got to kind of make your cover letter you on paper, and you got to make them want to reach out to you and find out more about you, if that makes sense. So definitely have 3 to 5 people or more review your stuff to make sure you have no grammatic errors. Now, tip number 4, which is interview questions. You want to practice, 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 and practice. When I tell you guys, I researched, and researched some more. Yeah, I researched a lot of interview questions, especially L&D interview questions, because how can I say this? Nursing interviews aren't like regular interviews. It's a lot of behavioral questions and a lot of scenarios. So you have to know basic knowledge, 1. And 2, if it's for a specialty area, make sure you know the meds and the you know, the most important meds, procedures, whatever. Just make sure you know it, okay? So I interviewed like but I looked up the basic interview questions. I created a document, like a Word document. I copied each question. I had probably like a little over 30 questions, and I literally typed out my answers to each of the questions. That might be a little extra, but I told you guys I'm extra. Now, I did that because, 1, I'm not good at winging interviews, like just going off the dome, just going with the flow. No, I'm super nervous normally during interviews, and then I can easily get tongue-tied, as you guys saw in this video. So I need to at least have an idea of what the heck I'm talking about, know what I need to talk about, you know, have my answer at least ready in my head or thought out at least. So I recommend, if you're like that, type up your answers to your interview questions. I'm going to put in the link below some of the videos I watched on YouTube of other YouTubers that gave really excellent advice for interview questions and answers, and I'll also put a few websites that I looked at as well in regards to how to answer these. Now, the day of the interview. Now, in today's time, most of the interviews are either telephone or virtual via Zoom or something. All of mine were either telephone, and they were also via Zoom. So with that, still be extra and dress up. So I had my makeup on, and not too much though. You want to keep it simple, but you want to make sure you look put together. So I still had my makeup on. I had my hair out of my face. I didn't have on a bunch of jewelry, just some simple little stud earrings, and I had a silk shirt on with a blazer. So I was dressed up from here on up. I was ready for the interview. What I also recommend is, if possible, make sure your background is clear. Now, I did my interview in my room where I'm most comfortable, but sometimes I can have a lot going on in the background. So if you have like one of those like dividers, room dividers, I recommend using that. That's what I did. Also, the day of the interview, do not practice any questions just because you've been practicing what, a week or two in advance. Don't practice any questions, just let it flow. You want to make sure you have a bottle of water as well. I had a bottle of water next to me. I even wrote down all of the questions that I want to ask them, and please make sure you have questions, but don't just ask the generic questions. Like, ask some real questions. Like, I'll put some of the questions that I asked them in the comment section, or I'm sorry, in the description box. And the questions that I asked had some of them kind of like, oh, that's a good question. They had to think. Because at the end of the day, yes, they're interviewing us, but you're also interviewing them too. So don't ask like basic questions. Like, really ask questions that you're curious about, if that makes sense. That you want to know about this department, this unit, to see if you're even a good fit. Okay? Because you're kind of interviewing each other. It goes both ways. However, like I said, I like being early. So if they send you a list of interview times, try to get the earliest one. Try to be in the first 2 or 3 interviews. And I say this could just be me. But, however, if you do an amazing job at that interview, boom, you're on their list. You're on their mind. You're already setting the tone of how the other interviews may or may not go. Now, last but not least, thank you emails. So I was actually shocked to hear, like, even some of my friends, they don't send thank you emails. Maybe some may think it's outdated or they just don't do it. Send a thank you email. Like, that's just proper etiquette. You have to send a thank you email. And that's another thing that the resume lady that I told you about, she has templates for thank yous that can help you out as well. You can thank me later because she's going to help you out. Once again, this is probably me. After your interview, do not send your thank you email right then and there. Don't do that. Like, I know it may be tempting to just, you get the interview over with and you're just ready to send it. Don't do it. You want to wait until the next morning. And I say that because by that time, if you say you're the early interview and they had like 10 scheduled that day, it's a lot going on. Don't send your thank you email the same day. You want to send it the next morning around like 8 or 9 o'clock. That way you can pretty much make them remember you, kind of like a refresher. So if they interviewed you the day before, you send an email the following morning and it kind of reminds them like, oh yeah, this girl was really good. I remember this interview. Boom. That's what you want to do, y'all. I'm telling you, don't send it the same day. They got a lot going on already, these people. You know, the recruiters and managers, they have a lot going on, okay? And they're interviewing a lot of people. So I don't recommend sending it the same day. Send it the next morning to kind of give them a reminder of yourself, like, hey, I'm here. You know, this is thank you for your time, blah, 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 blah. This is what I really want. Highlight your, you know, your capabilities, all that good stuff. Boom. That's what you want to do. All right, guys, so if you're still with me, you guys get to get the bonus tip. So the bonus tip is joining a professional organization. Now don't just join any professional organization. Make sure it's geared towards your unit or department of choice or your specialty of choice. So for example, I knew L&D was where I wanted to be, point blank, that was it, that's where I wanted to be. So the professional organization that I'm a part of is AWON, which is the Association of Women's Health, Obstetric, and Neonatal Nurses. I joined this back in July of 2020. 1, you'll learn a lot just by itself. 2, it looks good on your resume. And then 3, it shows that you are truly interested and you want to be in that field. I will say the number one thing, honestly, that I know worked in my favor was prayer. I prayed for this, okay? I've been praying for this since I started nursing school. I prayed for it every night since I can remember. I truly, you know, prayed to God. I had faith in him that he will open up that door for me, and he did. And I manifested it, and here we are. I'm just ready to start my residency. So I definitely recommend praying to whoever you guys may pray to. Prayer definitely works. You guys have faith. Alright guys, so I know I said a lot and I probably went on a tangent a little bit, But in all honesty, these are the 5 things that I did to land my dream job as a labor and delivery nurse. Thanks for joining me in 2021. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.